Hi, my name is Daniel Voth, and this is my C2C video article for um, Module 3. I apologize for it being late. I thought it was on Module 4, and then I kind of got caught up in spring practices. I coach baseball here at Dodge City High School, and I'm finishing up keeping score at the basketball games, and I'm finally getting to this, so my apologies. The first article I read was called Backward Design, a must-have library instructional design strategy for your pedagogical and teaching toolbox by Donna Harp, Ziegenfuss, and Sarah Lemire. I chose the article because I wanted to learn more about backwards design and see if I could find ways to be more intentional with it as I build units of study. I should have read the title better, as it is for librarians. However, there was some value to it, as it explained backward design again, but in different terms. And sometimes if we hear the same thing explained differently, we come to a better understanding. And that's what happened to me while I read. Ziegenfuss and Lemire state that backward design is a process of planning instruction that begins by reflecting about the end of the course and identifying first the learning outcomes you hope students will achieve. I feel like we know how to explain it, but with my courses, I have taken that one step further and tried to design each of my units that way. I know what they need to know by using curriculum guides. I figure out what I need to include on the summative assessment at the end of each unit. I figure out what students already know by pre-testing them on the summative. And then I make sure that information is taught in multiple ways for multiple learning styles and use formative assessments to ensure that students are picking up what I am putting down along the way, and finish each unit with the summative test that covers the information that was taught. I also like the fact that the authors point out that backward design focuses on student learning outcomes and not on what the instructor is teaching. It is grounded in student-centered and principled. To me, all teaching should be student-centered and principled, and backward design promotes that. The best part about student-centered learning is that it engages students in their own learning process, and that's valuable. As I read my assignment over, I realized that I included both summative and formative assessments, so I decided to read more about those two types of assessments. I read Dante Dixon and Frank Worrell's article called Formative and Summative Assessment in the Classroom. The article distinguishes between the two types by stating formative assessment involves gathering data for improving student learning, whereas summative assessments uses data to assess how much a student knows or is retained at the completion of the learning sequence. For me, the simple explanation between the two are checks for understanding along the way and a big test at the end. I feel like I value formative assessments more as a classroom teacher. I feel like if I can get kids to understand the little parts of the whole every day, the big test at the end isn't such a big deal. At least that's how I try to approach it with my students. I do value the summative assessment. I want students to do well, and I also want them to want to do well. And if all you're going to do is test at the end and place no value on the process, you're not going to get the desired result. At least in my experience, that's what I've found out. In my teaching unit, I chose a DBQ activity, which means document-based question activity about the Enlightenment. That was a practice DBQ, as I wanted to show them how to attack what could be a pretty overwhelming assignment for freshmen, especially when they know that the next one is going to be used as a summative assessment. And I used that activity as kind of my state assessment, and I just feel like it's a valuable activity for kids to understand, to know how to do. We broke down the process together, discussed, checked for understanding, worked it out together to figure out the process. And when the real thing came, the summative part wasn't that bad. Did kids want to write 5 paragraphs? No, they never do. But they did a pretty decent job at it, even though they know they had to do it. I was also able to make the process valuable throughout the activity as far as the content and grading went. I think if we can find value and reward the process, students are more willing to achieve on the whole. I think that is how I understand making formative and summative assessments work together and combine the two. The last article I read was called Introduction to a Pebble in the Pond Model for Instructional Design by Michael Melinda. I chose this one because I wanted to see if it had value in and it sounded intriguing to me. I was just kind of searching for articles, and I came across that, and it made me think of the ripple effect when it comes to having a positive attitude. I thought this sounded like the beginning of that ripple by throwing the pebble in the pond. I didn't get what I was looking for. I did not get any kind of explanation about it. It was kind of an introduction article about a textbook, and it was just pretty vague, and I'm not going to read the textbook. He did state the pebble in the pond model provides a step-by-step approach to the teaching of a problem-solving skill and similar complex training challenges, which is intriguing, but I'm not going to read a textbook, and I couldn't find any other articles that explained it in the detail that I needed. I think I'm hard pass on the textbook at this point. I apologize for this being late. Like I said before, I thought it was due this week, not last. So thank you for watching and listening, and hopefully you have a chance to make a comment on it. Thank you.